How's it going, guys? Gonna go over this Revo today. See what the damage is after 18 months of owning it. Some parts I'd recommend you maybe have for spares. Some upgrades I recommend you do. Highly recommend in some cases. So, my stock ESC burned up. After running it on 2046 gearing, the fan broke mid-run. Well, I don't know if it broke. The fan just stopped. So, it burned up, all blinking red lights. Critical error. So, I'm just going to go over the parts while I have it apart, you know. So, one of the first things I recommend, obviously, is the heatsink and some PROTEK fans. Here's a part number for the heatsink. It comes with 2 racing fans. I mean, you could use those. They get the job done for, like, I'd say 1 bashing session if you're lucky. And then I would get these to replace them on the second run. But these last pretty well. Now notice, I have my heatsink tilted here. If I ever come down on this, my chassis will actually hit the frame of the fans instead of the face of the fans. And I mean, my chassis, it tells a tale. That area right there is where the fans always hit. And it's like dimpled. So I'm very impressed with these Tractus bodies. I mean, it has a couple rips in the rear here, but it's holding up pretty good. I did some, I don't know, reflective tape, double-sided tape on some reflective material. And it doesn't rub anymore, so the paint's pretty good. On my next body, I'm going to do it before I run it at all. But since this is my only body and my first body, I figured I just leave it. It's whatever. Now, the second upgrade I would recommend is this chassis brace and limiting strap mod that everyone always does. I got the 85mm straps. At first I got the 90 and it was too long. The drive shafts popped out still. I was pissed. So I bought 85 and they were still slightly too short. So I put this little spacer in between the actual like cantilever thing and the strap itself. So that way it pulls it a little closer. And I haven't had it pop out once since, and it's done some good cartwheeling. Now, unfortunately, I didn't have the little card that comes with the aluminum brace. Here's the part number for the straps. And next in the way of durability and longevity, I got these RPM body savers. They're like $5 or $10.95. Look at that. So those are pretty cheap. They save your bodies. They've done a nice job for me. I flipped this thing, destroyed this thing. Landed strictly on the top, and I mean, I tried to epoxy it to make it hold, but it doesn't do it. The epoxy just rips off the white backing of the paint. But, I mean, for 18 months and the amount of damage I've done to this wing, I'm pretty impressed that the body's held up this well. Alright, other than obviously needing another ESC, my other stock electronic that went was my servos, and I only have one right now, and it is the Servos SC1256TG, titanium geared, not waterproof unfortunately, but it's lacking right now, being one. I wanted to see if I could get away with one. Unfortunately, I can't. I should have got higher torque, but on to the spare parts you might want to pick up. I would say the center shafts would be a good idea, and I would recommend plastic because the metal ones are $80. They can bend. A rock could still get in there and mess it up, honestly. So I would just stick with these $5 a piece plastic center shafts. They don't bend. They last. I mean, I replaced this probably after 14, 15 months of owning it, and I never checked that center area. I just heard that rocks can get stuck up in there, and then I checked it, and it looked like this. So that'd be a good part to pick up. I would say the push rods are, you know, everyone always complains about push rods, but the 8619, I don't know if you've seen the old Revo push rods, but they were like all chrome. They looked terrible. They were so skinny, so weak. Everyone was complaining about them, nothing but problems. I haven't had a problem with these yet. I I can't knock this because I hit a cinder block around a fire pit outside. So, I mean, it's not the car's fault that it's a little bent. But I bent it back, and I had spares sitting around because everyone always told me that they have issues with the push rods. But that's the only one that I've ever bent. So, or broken. I haven't hit anything, so I haven't worried about the ends breaking off, really. Bearing kit. This is super nice. Fast eddy bearings. It's basically stock bearings. They're not upgraded bearings or anything, but they're just, it's nice to have a full set of bearings. You don't have to doubt if you're going to miss that one bearing and be completely unable to run. The center chassis, the skid plate the center transmission skid plate would be, oh my god. The center skid plate transmission would be another good pickup. I think I broke this when I hit like a sewer thing that was sticking out of the ground slightly. It had like a bad lip on it, and I caught it. But I haven't replaced it yet because it's like this piece right here, and there's a screw that goes through it, so it's not really broken. It still does its job. The dust boots, you know, those things, I don't even know if those are worth putting on, honestly. Mine have been ripped to shreds for 6 months, and then I finally put them back on, and I checked my pivot balls, and they're fine. And they're just the stock balls, they're not upgraded or anything. So, you know, pick those up if you want to. It's optional. In my opinion, they haven't worn it all. So the wheels, now this is where the money comes in, boys. This is the most expensive part on the Revo. Like, oh my god. I have gone through probably 6 or 8 wheels at this point. But at the beginning, I didn't vent them. And I just sealed the back of the rim. And now I definitely recommend venting them. Because it just makes them run so much more balanced. On top of, you don't have to worry about them exploding if you get any water inside. So, you know, that's always a good idea. Pick those up. The gearing I'm running, 2046. There's the part numbers for you. The Diff Cups are pretty worn on mine. They haven't gone yet, and you can rotate them because the back ones get messed up. Like, within a couple runs, mine were about this bad. I mean, they haven't really gotten that much worse since I got it. Yeah, see, they're pretty chewed up back there. I mean, this one has like burrs on it and everything. But they've been like that for as long as I can remember, and you can always rotate them, put the front ones on the back because the front is not nearly as worn. And like I said, you can always rotate them, put the front cups on the back because the front, for some reason, don't wear nearly as much. Probably just because they're always in the air and they don't have as much resistance behind them. So you can pick those up. I don't know. I haven't broken one yet, but I feel like they're just going to shatter one day. These rod ends, I would pick some of these up just in case. I mean, I haven't broken any, but this is why I'd recommend picking up some rod ends. Because mine didn't break, but this slop in your steering is so annoying. Your wheels are just going crazy. If you're doing a wheelie, your wheels are just going like the whole time. It's nuts. When it comes to maintenance on the diffs, I like to use some Vanquish grease. Luckily, I've only had to really maintenance them once. I just did it last winter just to see if they were worn, since it was the first year with it, and they've been holding up great. I mean, I beat the hell out of this thing. I'll try and triple backflips now. I don't know. The ESC gave out on me. She won't let me do it. But I like to, you know, if I run it in water, you just gotta do the general things. Blow it off with an air compressor, leave it in front of a fan for like 45 minutes, get the residual moisture off. I don't really have much rust on it, despite all the wear and tear. You might want to pick up some A-arms. I haven't broken one yet, but this thing is so loose. It allows my whole wheel to move. When it comes to the underneath side, I mean, this is scuffed. I don't know how good it shows up on camera, but you cannot even like see that TRX thing, even if it is clean. It's just full of grooves from hitting rocks and stuff. I haven't broken an A-arm yet. I haven't hit a rock that big that fast yet, I suppose. But that'd be a good idea. Pick up some arms. I mean, mine, I feel like they should have broken by now. If it's worn out to the point where my whole arm is like worn out on the pin, I think that's about it. It's about all you need in terms of upgrades, in my opinion. Spares. I mean, you can pick up, I usually pick up, if I'm going to break something, I'll get 3 or 4 of them if they're cheap. Like these. I just got this because I saw people blowing up their shocks. I also have a shock rebuild kit, but I haven't had issues with that limiting strap chassis brace mod at all. Pretty reliable truck in my opinion. I don't have really rod end issues. I bent the one, bent it right back. I don't know. As long as you don't hit anything, I feel like they should be fine. I'm doing some pretty crazy jumps and they're holding up. Maybe they're on the very verge of holding up. I think that's it. This is a great truck. I mean, I run it like every other day, unless it's winter. So 9 months out of the year, I'm running it. I mean, after 18 months of owning it, running it every other day, every 3 days maybe. Probably 100, 150 packs, somewhere in that ballpark area. Put through this thing. The servos, try not to use TSM too much when you first get it. Those servos aren't too reliable. It took about 11 months, I'd say, if I'm being super accurate, to break them. The ESC, make sure that fan's working. If you have a fan like these PROTEKs, they have these little adapters here so you can unplug it without going all the way into your receiver box. Super handy. Give it a listen because you cannot hear it over those PROTEK fans. Yeah, I mean, 100, 150 packs through it. It's held up crazy well. I'm overkill with these spares. I haven't even used like all the parts I've bought for this thing. The push rods, that's probably one of the only parts, and the half shafts. Of course, you want to pick up A-arms. Every RC has a problem breaking A-arms. Of course they do. It's the weak link on purpose, folks. But a great RC, man. I love this thing. Pick up maybe a wing. This is the damage of the full runtime. Never replaced that wing. Landed on the back of it probably 1,000,000 times. If I had to guess, 1,000,000 times. It's crazy. That wing flexes and it's like, I don't even have a wheelie bar on this thing because I just bash it. So that is my wheelie bar. And that's a pretty good one, in my opinion. Does its job. Holds up well. So that's it. If you watched through this far, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. Is the Revo good? Is the Revo trash? What should I do next? Alright guys, have fun out there.